I want you to close your eyes and think back to a time when you had to take a standardized test. How did you feel in that moment, and what was going to go through your head? I won't make you share it out loud, but if you were anything like me, you had nervousness in your stomach, the classroom was silent, and you remember your teacher being very stressed. That is not the way a classroom environment should feel. Hi, my name is Chloe Burdett, and today I will be telling you about the harms of standardized testing and why it should be eliminated from schools. American students take more standardized tests than almost any other country, with a range of 3 to 10 tests yearly, yet we still rank 31st in global education. If testing truly measured the success, wouldn't we be leading in education? As someone who has always struggled with standardized testing, I believe a test does not determine my worth. I've always been able to show my knowledge and abilities in other ways, and now going into education as the teacher, I want my students to have that chance as well. First, we're going to talk about standardized testing and how it can cause emotional and psychological stress. Standardized testing increases anxiety at a young age for kids, and that stays with them. Students must complete standardized tests like ACT and SAT to get into colleges. Then we even see standardized tests in colleges with tests for future doctors, teachers, lawyers like the LSAT, Praxis, and many other things. We see a rise in stress levels during testing periods. According to the National Bureau of Economic Research, an increase in cortisol levels can negatively impact cognitive functions like focus and memory, leading to a lower test performance. If a student goes into the test anxious, this is just setting them up for failure to come. The Anxiety and Depression Association of America has stated that there comes a feeling of disappointment, anxiety, and hopelessness when it comes to people with testing anxiety. Students just feel like their self-esteem is based on a test and that their test score is the only thing that matters. Some students also have way more going on at home, and they don't have a plate just full of school issues, and testing becomes their last priority. Secondary standardized testing is the hardest form of testing. This determines people's end of courses grades. Students are not the only ones affected by standardized testing. According to the American University Achievement, test scores are commonly assumed to have a strong correlation with teaching that can place unfair blame on good teachers if scores are low, and obscure teaching deficits if scores are high. Teachers are constantly pressured to improve the test scores year after year, forcing teachers to teach strictly from the book. Teachers should be teaching to teach, not teaching based on a grade. Standardized testing practices take out a huge time and chunk of teaching's assessments. Instead, teachers could be teaching more curriculum. Instead, for at least 2 weeks straight, students are just given test prep. By the time the test comes, both the teacher and the student are both drained. Now I'm going to give you some alternative assessments that I think are beneficial to the student and the schools. There are many ways to test a student's progress. Rather than making the test seem like such a high stake, we first need to understand the meaning behind assessments, and that is to see their progress and look for ways to help them. Oftentimes, students fall behind more and more because they never get time to go over these standardized tests to actually fix their mistakes and learn material. If they're getting it wrong and they get a grade for it, but then they don't get to go over it, what's the fairness in that? Ways of testing a student's progress and knowledge without giving them a bubble sheet would benefit them way more than people would think. Portfolios, essays, projects are all ways to see a student's progress. The goal in mind would be whatever fits best for that subject and grade level. This gives the teacher to see all what they can see through the growth of the year. My favorite's a portfolio, but that's just me and my future teacher. In Todd Rose's TEDx, he explains that if we designed learning environments for the average odds we've designed them for nobody. This goes with the learning environment in schools and the tests that are made with the idea that everyone is the same. In the education world, the first rule of thumb is that no student is the same as the next. So today, we discussed the stress that standardized testing can come and bring. We've talked about how teachers must teach for a test rather than what's best for the student. And we've talked about ways that schools can assess a student's values and grades rather than just a bubble sheet. This was just touching the surface of why standardized testing is so bad. If you feel the same, ways that you can help abolish standardized testing is by supporting policies and policymakers who want to reduce standardized testing. This is a main topic and discussion in Department of Education and your policymakers in your states. You want someone who wants to reduce standardized testing and encourage schools to define a student's progress by alternative ways, rather than a one-size-fits-all test. Let's bring hope to our future generations and future children by dismissing the idea that test scores define them. These students are future thinkers, leaders of our country, and if you don't want to do it for them, do it for you. Don't let one test define someone's future. Thank you so much.